According to Revelation 13, the Antichrist and the false prophet are going to create something called the image of the beast. And it says he was granted power to give breath to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. Now, what I find amazing here is it says that he granted power. He was granted power to give breath to the image of the beast. What is this thing? It's not just a robot. It's more than a robot. It may be related to some kind of a robot, but it's also something biological. There's something more than just a bunch of silicon parts here. Again, it may include some silicon parts, but it somehow has life. Well, according to ScienceAlert.com, scientists just took a big step towards creating artificial life. You can check this out at ScienceAlert.com. So it says designer organisms are almost here. Scientists have taken a major step forward in developing complex artificial life by successfully synthesizing 6 out of 16 yeast chromosomes, the molecular structure that carry genes. This means they're more than 1/3 of the way to being able to build their own custom-made yeast genomes from scratch, which would be a huge moment in the field of developing lab-made life forms. The research is being carried out by the hundreds of scientists who make up the Synthetic Yeast Genome Project, and they estimate that the artificial yeast genome could be completed within the next year. This is very exciting, geneticist George Church from Harvard University, who wasn't involved in the research, told Kristen V. Brown at Gizmodo. They have tackled some of the hardest things. The other 2/3 of the yeast genome is going to happen much, much faster. In recent years, scientists have made great leaps in editing DNA thanks to CRISPR-Cas9 technology, enabling them to do things like stopping apples from browning and preventing HIV reinfections from editing the virus out of human cells. But this time, the aim was to produce a complete single-celled organism in the lab. To be clear, that end goal is still a long way off, but this research moves us a lot closer to it, as scientists are learning step by step how to effectively write the code that could create a functional artificial organism. You know what's so amazing about this is that humans can literally do anything that they set their minds to. That's what God said, that nothing would be impossible for them way back in the days of Babel. The trouble is, they've forgotten their creator, that we have forgotten our creator, that we can do all these amazing things and yet we don't have the wisdom of the creator. Now, we don't have all the smarts either, fair enough, but with time, with dedication, with enough people putting their mental energy towards something, God said that nothing would be impossible. Check that out in Genesis. Nothing would be impossible. And yet, without the correct wisdom, we're not going to make wise choices. I'm not saying this is going to become the mark of the beast. I think it's just one of the many milestones that are needed to get there. Now, as they continue to progress in these kind of things, it keeps happening faster and faster and faster. So who's to say that it couldn't happen in 20 years or 30 years or 40 years? I don't know. But I think we are getting very close. If you listen to some of the transhumanists, they believe that by 2045, we're going to have a quantum leap in humanity, and we will become post-human. We'll have to wait and see, of course, but I do think this is just one of the things that's leading us there. The other thing is that they acknowledge that our DNA has incredible properties, that it takes a long time to understand how it all works, and yet they deny, many of them, not all of them, granted, but some of them, deny the very creator who made all of this possible. That's what I think is unfortunate. I'm not trying to say that all scientists are atheists, because they're not, but the overall sentiment in science is that, well, we don't need God. We can figure things out our own way. There's a joke that goes that God and scientists are having a contest, and the scientist said, we can do anything you can do, God. He said, that may be true. You can make lots of stuff. And they said, that's right. And in the end, God said, well, fine, make your own dirt. Okay. And the idea here is that God made the original basic parts. Now we can get real all fancy and everything with those basic parts, but God made the basic parts. Until we can actually make dirt, We're not anywhere near who God is. So something similar has been done before with the Mycoplasma genitalium bacterium, but the yeast genome here is far more complex. If the team succeeds, it would be the first genome of a eukaryotic organism to be synthesized, the same domain of living things that animals and plants belong to, where cells contain a nucleus and other membrane-bound organelles. The process involves building yeast chromosomes from the four chemical building blocks that make up DNA: adenine, cytosine, guanine, and thymine. At each stage, natural chromosomes are carefully replaced with lab-made ones. See there again. They're starting with what God originally made, and then they're adding it. They're copying it and they're adding it. And that's fine. Whether or not this is a good idea or bad, it's probably a bad idea in my opinion, but it's pretty cool research. But why deny the creator who made all of these incredible things? And then the yeast is tested to see if it still functions as it should. This is all made possible by an advanced computer program called BioStudio, with any bugs in the code being identified and fixed before moving on to the next stage. We're essentially swapping out the code, if you will, in a living yeast cell with sort of a 21st century version of the operating system. Project leader Jeff Bokeh from the New York University School of Medicine explained to NPR. That process could eventually enable scientists to do much more than make their own yeast to order. It's hoped that future designer organisms could be used as tiny custom factories, pumping out drugs to treat disease and producing different types of biofuel. One day, it might also enable us to develop completely different types of yeast that can survive in various environments or with specific characteristics. For now, the scientists aim to produce their own yeast chromosomes that work in the same way as natural ones, while adding some tweaks such as swapping genes around to make the DNA easier to edit and taking out any redundant code. A great quote from Richard Feynman of the Feynman Lectures on Physics is, "What I cannot create, I cannot understand," Boak told NPR, and that's kind of a motto for our field, I guess you'd say. So again, interesting research. I think humans should continue to explore the world around us, but we should give credit to God. And when we give credit to God, when we have the fear of God, it'll help us to make wise decisions. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And yet when we think there is no God and this is all just a big random chance, then we're going to make unwise choices eventually. I hope that eventually is a long way down the road, but we never know. Until next time, God bless.